Welcome to Fish on Fridays. I'm Al McCauley, and I am going to dedicate this episode to my lovely wife of 30 years, Katie. And why am I doing that? Because today's episode is about St. Catherine of Siena, her patron saint, and a saint that we remember in the Catholic Church every year on April 29th. Now, Catherine is just an unbelievably, remarkably strong woman and just an incredible role model for men and women, but particularly for women. She was born in 1347. She's going to die in 1380, so she'll be 33 when she dies. A very young lady, but boy, did she pack a lot in that time, in that those 33 brief years. She was the 24th of 25 children. So imagine that, 24th out of 25 children. She had a twin sister who died relatively short after birth, but 25 kids. I think that maybe the church should think about canonizing her mom, having 25 children, but I digress. Just remarkably, like I said, a very driven woman, very strong. She was self-educated, taught herself how to read and write, although she did have a scribe that wrote most of what we have of hers. But she lived her life according to the precepts of what we would call the Dominican order. She was like a tertiary, which would be like removed a little bit. She wasn't in a convent, but she followed the precepts of the Dominican order. And just in a nutshell, their main charisms or spiritual gifts were going to be education and preaching. The Dominicans were initially called the Order of Preachers by St. Dominic. And by the way, I did an episode on St. Dominic of Fish on Fridays a while back, so you can always look in the archives and check that out if you'd like. But she was somebody in her lifetime who was widely known and widely sought out by people of royalty, by people who were in high noble standing, because she was considered so wise. They looked at her for her counsel, her spiritual counsel. She was really known for her asceticism. She had these disciplines, long fasts and things of that nature, which at that time really added to her sanctity, to her holiness. And because of this asceticism, because of her obvious holiness, it really gave her great credibility in society and in the church. In fact, probably the best known way she helped to reform the church was something called the Avignon papacy. So in the 14th century, we have 7 consecutive popes or anti-popes that are ruling in southern France in a city called Avignon. Because of a political interaction with the French king, they were convinced to move from Rome to Avignon. And Catherine thought, as many Christians did throughout Europe, that this was wrong because the Pope should be in Rome literally over the buried body of Peter. Since Jesus said, Peter, you are the rock in Matthew 16, you are the rock on which I will build my church. The church has always anchored itself in the Vatican, which is the burial place of Peter. And so for the Pope to move out of that space was really nothing short of a scandal. And so she went to the Pope. She went to Pope Gregory XI and said, hey, you know what you got to do? It might be a tough choice, but you got to move back. And he listened to her. He did. So now that doesn't end the controversy. It's going to rage on after her death. But she was really known as a reformer. And she was equally renowned for her mysticism. She had many spiritual gifts. She had visions, something we call mystical espousal, where she was betrothed to Jesus. She received the stigmata, the wounds of the crucified Christ, while she was deep in prayer. And these encounters with the divine, we call them again mystical experiences or ecstasy events. They weren't just part of her own personal, private piety. They really moved her to really, really selfless works of mercy. She was somebody who embraced the corporal works of mercy. In a lot of ways, she was like a 14th century Mother Teresa. You know, her asceticism, her deep prayer life, her mystical experiences led her to a greater understanding, greater empathy, and a greater desire to help the poor in and around her life. And I think sometimes today we're very much into pious actions, and they're great, but we should always do them with a mind to how does this empower us to go out now and to be what we celebrate, what we believe about, for instance, the Eucharist. It's not just for us to take in and that's it. We're supposed to do something with it, and we're supposed to go out and live it. And so that's what Catherine really did, Like I said, she's going to die when she's 33. She's going to, for a long time toward the end of her life, subsist only on communion hosts. I mean, it's just a remarkable story, a remarkable life, regardless of what you think about about her and how where you fall on terms like things like mystical experiences, the fact is that we have a record of her obvious care for the poor. We have a record of her obvious care for others in terms of the counsel she gave, the writings that she did, most notably something called the Dialogue, which is still an influential spiritual work to this day. Because of all of this, she was canonized as a saint in relatively short order. And in 1970, she was recognized, along with Teresa of Avila, as the first two female doctors of the church. Now, I've done episodes on doctors of the church before, too. Really quick, in a nutshell, there are 37 men and women who have been canonized saints who are recognized as doctors, as the preeminent teachers of the faith. This is the cream of the crop. I mean, these are the people who have put forth teachings that are universally understood and that they've lasted through the test of time, and so they're that influential. So only 37 of the thousands of saints we've had have been doctors of the church. And of those 37, only 4 are women, and Catherine of Siena is one of them. So it gives you an idea of the powerhouse that we're talking about, the remarkable woman that she was. There's a lot more I could say about Catherine, and I hope, like many of these episodes that I do on Fish on Fridays about saints in particular, I hope it just kind of, I'm dipping my toe in the pool, but I'm hoping it inspires you to say, I want to learn more about that person. Especially if you know or love someone named Catherine, or if you were born on April 29th, her feast day, or if you just like to learn about the saints, to do a deeper dive into their lives, because they're richer than I can do in 5 to 10 minutes here in these episodes. But I'm hoping that just this scratching of the surface will give you an insight into the woman, into her, just what amazingly impactful woman she was in the church and in the world, and hopefully inspire you to do some research on your own. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Again, if you want to share this content, please feel free to do so. We'd love it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. But either way, please keep tuning in every Friday for Fish on Fridays. Until next time, please be good to each other, and God bless.